Hi, how you doing? This vlog is gonna be a journey. Warning. But last year I did a reading vlog reading a bunch of Christmas books because I, in my lifetime, if you don't count A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, have not loved a Christmas book. And I thought last year would be fun to go on a journey trying to find a favorite Christmas book. So I requested a bunch from that gallery, read them all, DNF'd a lot, and it was alright. But I did not find a 5-star Christmas book again. So I thought I'd give it a try again this year. So I requested a bunch again. This time I was a bit more selective. I somehow still ended up with more than last time, but last time I truly requested everything that I saw that was Christmas related. This time I tried to stay within my interests, to give myself a fair shot, but you'll see, this is still gonna be a rough ride, so buckle up. I'll have fun because it's something, I promise you. Timestamps in the description if it gets too painful for you and you want to click around. I finished the first book for this video, All I Want Is You by Falon, Ballard. This was on the shorter side, so I thought I'd start with this, just ease myself into the Christmas spirit. And this ended up being a 4-star, so a success and all. I personally do have to say I have some issues with it. In this book, we follow two main characters who broke up 5 years ago. As he got like a massive publishing deal, she got a small one. And now 5 years later, she basically gets invited to present him an award because they're under the same publishing company, and they're giving him an award and like they want her to present it. I don't know why actually they came up with that, but she can't say no because she's still like a smaller author and he's like massive. So presenting this award to him would like give her a good in, but she hates him. She hates his guts because of the way they broke up and everything. And then they get snowed in into the hotel where the function is held. Everyone in the companies kind of like gets snowed in there, and they kind of end up reconnecting a little. So that's the book, the premise. And I honestly thought that the romance was a bit underdeveloped in this one. I feel like it is very based on the fact that they used to have amazing sex together, because that generally gets mentioned a million times, and just that they creatively drive when they're together. That those are the two hinges of this romance. Nothing about like shared interests or like anything that typically drives a romance. So that was a bit of a disappointment. And I also feel like we get the reason for the breakup like relatively late in the book. I feel like I prefer my second chance romances to be that something that's swept under the rug very, like, not easily but like very quickly, but it's something that we deal with relatively late in the book. It's just my personal preference for second chance romances. This one, it happens quite late, and once we got the reveal for their breakup, I also was just like, oh, so we have done nothing to unpack all of that. Like, we're doing nothing to show that these characters have shown that they're not gonna fall into like the same pitfalls, that this is gonna happen again. Like, nothing has changed around them, so there has been no development throughout this course at all. So that was a bit disappointing. And I also wasn't the biggest fan of the guy throughout the book. There was like some small things that gave me a little bit of an ick, but like they were enough to be ignored, like small enough. But then I feel like the breakup in the past kind of hinges on him kind of being an egotistical prick. And like I said, I don't think we actually do the work to show that these people have changed and learned from their breakup, so these things won't happen again. So I'm not the biggest fan of him. But despite all of those complaints, because I'm sure you're gonna be, did I hear it right? You did say that that was a 4-star, right? Yes, because I ate this up. This was such an addictive read, so fun, so quick. It's very Christmassy, so you'll definitely get your fill that way. It's cheesy in all the right ways, and it just plays into these things that I couldn't help but eat up. And I was so invested that even at points I started tearing up because I was getting emotional. I was just like, oh my god. And I don't know, it was just such a fun time to read that I haven't had with a book in a while. So therefore it is a 4-star, because my enjoyment is personally more important to me when it comes to reading books. I put enjoyment above quality, if that makes sense. Like, obviously I want to be the good book, but like if I enjoy it, does it matter that it was that bad? I don't know. I finished another Christmas book. I finished The Holiday Honeymoon Switch by McKay. This is a Christmas romance novel that came out this year that is about two best friends, Holly and Ivy. And Holly, actually at the start of this book, is supposed to get married around Christmas time, and then the day before the wedding happens, her fiance breaks up with her because he has someone else, and she is just like absolutely devastated. And then Ivy actually was supposed to leave on like this 2-week art retreat that she always does in like a cabin in the woods, just alone with her nature drawing. And of course, because there was supposed to be a wedding, Holly was supposed to go on a honeymoon in Hawaii with her fiance, ex-fiance, would have been a husband. And because Holly is just like so devastated and just wants to be alone and just like not surrounded by people, she actually comes up with the idea for Ivy and her to switch vacations because they look a lot alike. So Ivy should go to customs with Holly's like passwords and everything, like passports and everything, like pretty easily. And yeah, they switch vacations, each have their own romances. It's a fun time. And yeah, I do mean it. It was a fun time. I ended up giving this book a 3-star. It was just fine, middle of the road. I feel like if you take my average for like every Christmas book I do think you'll land around the 3. We were just like that, just my, I don't know, most of my experiences with Christmas books. Sadly enough, I want to love her more, but I just thought this was fine. It was a very quick read. I absolutely flew through this. I had a fun enough time. I really like to focus on the friendship between the two main characters in this book as well. I feel like that was such a great centering, like grounding aspect to this book that I just really enjoyed. So therefore, I can't complain about that aspect of it. And I also quite like the two settings, like in a cabin in the woods where it's like cold and snowy, and like in a small town, but isolated from the town as well. And then you have the Hawaii like summer vacation beach town fun times, except it's not summer, it's winter, so I don't know why I said that. But like those two different vibes, I feel like contrast each other really well. So yeah, I had a 5 out of 10 with it. The only reason why I didn't like ended up being really invested in it or loving it is because I feel like the romances on either side, they were cute but underdeveloped in my opinion. I felt like I wanted a bit more from that. It came a little bit out of nowhere. I don't know, I feel like that could have just had a little oomph extra and it would have been so good. And then wasn't the biggest fan of Holly either. I don't hate her, she's definitely like a character I disliked and never got that far, but there's definitely times where she got on my nerves, and therefore I that lowered my enjoyment of this a little bit. Hi! So I finished another book, so let me tell you about it. I read Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore, and this was a 1-star. I hated this book so much and I did not want to. I read the other 2 books in the series as well and they were 2 stars, but I did for the most part enjoy my time reading them. It's just kind of like the last bit that just sunk it down a little for me. But this book, I hated it right from the beginning and I only pushed through because it was like, I enjoyed book 1 and 2, so what's wrong with this one? If you don't know, this is the 3rd book, like the Pumpkin Spice Cafe like series, that one that's really popular, and it's a Christmas installment. But I cannot stand this one. In this book we follow Kira, who has recently bought the town's Christmas tree farm, and she's kind of a Grinch, doesn't want to have anything to do with the people in the town, but she quickly realizes that if she, like, the house she lives in that's attached to the farm is like very run down, and if she wants to be able to renovate the house and be able to live in it, she needs to open the Christmas tree farm. But because she's been such a grouch, she has a hard time kind of like connecting with the town. And then we also follow Bennett, I believe his name is. He is the sister of, he's the brother of the main character of book 1, and he comes to visit his sister for the holidays, and he very quickly crosses paths with Kira, especially because the townspeople kind of like force him in her path, because they're like, she doesn't like us but she doesn't know you. So you fix things first, because they obviously also want the Christmas tree farm open. And yeah, this is their romance. That's what this book is. And I don't know, I thought Kira at the start, she's supposed to be like a Grinchy character, so I do get her being a bit mean-spirited, but she was just awful. Like, she was so mean and so unnecessarily so. I didn't like her. And then throughout the book she did change, but I feel like the author decided on a different personality for her every scene she was in, and it contrasted each other so much, and it really didn't work. I really hated her characters as well. She's like very obsessed with her twin sister who's gone now, and at first you think, oh god, did she die? Like, that's sad if your twin sister passes away. Like, yeah, I can see how you struggle to like live and function now on your own. But no, her sister got married and moved to Denmark. That's it. And it reeks of codependency. It's like, girl, be your own person. I would not like this. You're a full-grown adult. You should be like, have a personality besides being a twin sister, you know? It is, I don't know, felt pathetic. And I also wasn't a big fan of Ballard. He was a doormat, which is part of his storyline in this book, but I feel like it goes way farther than this book pretends it does. And it's just, I don't think this man has ever made a decision of his own in his entire life. And again, he's a full-grown adult. That's concerning. And then a romance was even less developed than these romances tend to be. As my main critique of like all books is that there are entirely underdeveloped, but this one especially was just really bad. And the plot wasn't, I was gonna say half baked, but it wasn't baked at all. Like it was so random and like so convenient and like barely there, and I got so bored while reading this book. I skimmed like the like not skimmed, but I did zone out quite a bit. It was like the last third of this book because I just couldn't anymore. And yeah, I don't like giving hatred in my Christmas video, but this wasn't it. Hi, so this vlog update is coming to you from in front of the Christmas tree. Don't you like it? I felt like I should have done it at least once this vlog, but yeah, I finished I'll Be Gone for Christmas by Georgia K. Boone, and this is a adult contemporary romance following B, who lives in San Francisco and just is struggling with life. She's always kind of been her parents' like least favorite child, at least that's how she feels, and now she's also stuck in her work, and she just, I don't know, isn't feeling it, and she decides to and we also follow Clover, who this is her first Christmas since her mom passed away, and she broke off her engagement with her fiance, and she lives in a very small town in Salem, and she's like, everybody's already like up in my business, and for the Christmas season it's only gonna be worse, I don't feel like it. And they both decide to kind of like swap houses and go on vacation in each other's spots. They do that to like an app, they don't know each other, and yeah, go now. Clover is living her fantastic life in San Francisco, kind of discovering who she is outside of this small town, and we follow B kind of just taking a moment to relax and also find herself in the small town without the pressures of like her family close by. Yeah, of course, each of them also have a romance because it's a romance book. And yeah, I literally give this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one. I absolutely flew through it. It was such a quick read. It was also a bit on the shorter side, so it also like makes sense why it'd be a quick read, but like still very fast read. I had a lot of fun reading it. I think Clover and B just are really fun main characters. They're very different, although like their setups are very similar, but they'll just still their personal journeys are so different, and they have different things to go through to deal with. And I thought that was so interesting to kind of like have like small parallels between them, as you know, there are like similar elements to, you know, they are both trying to find themselves again after, you know, being stuck. So in that sense, they are kind of like the same, but like it's very differently done, and I thought that was very interesting. I also liked the 2 different settings. I thought they contrasted each other really well. I loved the cast of side characters. Like honestly, I found the hallmark of a good Christmas romance is the side characters, and that was totally the case with this one. In San Francisco, we have like a really fun, loud, queer group of friends, which were just a whole lot of fun to read. And then in Salem, we just have like the small town, and it kind of feels like family, even if you're not blood related. And I loved how they kind of immediately encapsulated be amongst their midst, and I thought that was like very fun and cozy on that side. And then I also quite like the romances. They are a bit on the incel side because of course this book takes place over like 2 weeks periods of time, so it's not like these people know each other for a very long time before they're like madly in love with each other. But for the circumstances, I did feel like this was like a relatively slow burn, because this book does focus quite a lot on like the main characters' personal journeys. So the romances, as much as they are a very prevalent part of the story, do take a little bit of a backseat to that, and it is a bit more slower, and I really like that. I feel like they were developed really well. I thought they had a lot of cute moments, both pairings, and ultimately just great matches that I really loved. The only complaint that I have with this book is that I was reading and reading, and the page count was like getting smaller and smaller from what I had left, and then I would just kept thinking, how are we gonna wrap all of this up in this little time? Turns out not. I feel like the ending was just really bad. I feel like the author just like outpaced herself. I don't know. I feel like she had like such a good pacing going, and then it's like the publisher was like, you can go past this page count, and she was like, oh shit, I'm going over that, and just like very quickly wrap things up in a way that just was very poorly executed and dropped so many threads that I wanted a resolution for that we just never really got, and it was very just not good. So therefore it was a 4 star because it was so close. do a 5, which is disappointing because I don't have a 5-star Christmas book. Now I have A Christmas Carol. That will always be a special place in my heart. But for the rest, like when it comes to more like modern books and like more fun time Christmas books, I haven't had a 5-star. I have been dreading doing this update because it's the Grinchiest Grinch you'll ever see. I apologize, but I'm quitting this vlog, but I do still have a couple of updates for you because I did read some more since I last talked to you. It is actually currently, as I'm filming this, the day that this video is going up, because technically this was supposed to go up on Christmas, but I've been sick as well. Like, none of this has gotten my favor. So, but I'll talk about that a little bit more after I talk to you about like the books I read. But I've been putting it off because I don't want to be a Grinch. But I have to put this video up. So, I'm gonna have to bear through it. Let's talk about The Christmas Cookie Wars by Eliza Evans. So this is where things started to go downhill, as this was my first DNF for this video. My first line of this review is literally, "May call me cringe, but I just couldn't with this book." And I feel like that ended up being like a predictor for like the rest of this video, but oh well. I just wasn't, I didn't really vibe with this book. With the little I got into it, I got to 18% of the way, so like not a whole lot technically. But I didn't really gel with the writing. I just noticed the typo in my review, fun. And I didn't really like female main character. In this book we follow a single mom who, like, her kids are kind of like growing out of Christmas traditions, and she like desperately wants to hold on to that. And at the same time, the kids' school typically always does like a lot of like cookie events, and the person who usually runs these things has quit, and now these cookie events can go through, and she's like, wait, that can't happen because that's the only thing my kids still like about Christmas. So she volunteers herself to put into place, but like, she's a single mom, she's busy, and on top of that she can bake, so it kind of puts her in like this position where she's like fumbling. And yeah, it's kind of a romance between her and then like the principal of the school. And honestly, I did think the premise for this was really fun. I also liked the principal character from what we got, not a whole lot, but he like seemed like a sweet guy, even though there wasn't like that much to him yet. But I couldn't with the main character. She was so immature, and I don't know, also stupid. Like, I don't know, it was generally painful to read from her POV, and I don't know, I was rolling my eyes constantly. And I read some more reviews, and just based on like people's thoughts on this book plus how I was already feeling about it, I just decided to like not put myself through that pain anymore. And like, honestly, it's been a little bit since I DNF'd this book. I don't remember too much about it, so it's not that much of a loss. Then next we have The Christmas Crush by Noelle Douglas. You know, I thought I had two cookie based books on my TBR for this video, so I thought it would be such a good idea that, because I DNF one, didn't work out for me, to try the other one, because like, how bad can it be? This is another DNF, also at 18%. I got the exact same thing to it, but there's also a typo in this review. Fuck me. Anyway, in this one we kind of have a more like typical like Christmas story lineup, with our male main character being a bakery owner in a small town, and like his bakery is just cookies. So I don't know if that technically counts as a bakery, but like he has a cookie shop that he bakes stuff, and it's like very small town. And a female main character like works for a company that's basically crumble cookies, which is like this big mega corporation that sells cookies like very hip and trendy, and they are planning on opening a store in a small town, but the townspeople aren't like that on board with it, because, you know, small town, not one big corporation in it, makes sense. And she's kind of sent down to the small town to convince the people to let the store move in, basically. But of course, like, he doesn't want that because that would be direct competition for him, and yeah, they butt heads a little. So romance, I really didn't like this from what I read. Like I said, it's not that much, but again, based on reviews that I read and what I had already read of this book, I was just like, there's no way this is gonna go well for me. So I just didn't bother. I really didn't like the female main character. She just very inconsistently written. I wasn't a big fan of her, and then like the guy just was there. I feel like he was a very like forgettable character, and like I said, this is a very typical setup for a Christmas like romance. So yeah, I have to say with like the setup that I did get in this, you're not getting anything new with this. There's like no nuance so far, no like black. It's very black and white, and yeah, I just like I said, because of the reviews and my already negative opinions of it, I thought this wouldn't be my thing, so I decided to DNF it. And then I read I'll Get Back to You by Becca Grischow. Because I just thought if there's one thing that's gonna save me right now, it's the gays. You know what? I did finish this book, so in that sense, it did, but I also didn't really love this one. I ended up giving this 3 stars, which is such a disappointment to me. Just because I was expecting so much from this, it just sounded right up my alley and it just missed the mark for me a little bit. I feel like this one was just underdeveloped. I feel like that's the word for this one in general. I still had a fun time with it. I read it very quickly. I do think the whole setup is like a bit wacky, but a whole lot of fun. But like I said, I just think the word for this book is like underdeveloped. I just feel like the romance is underdeveloped, the characters were underdeveloped, the main conflicts was underdeveloped. The friendship between our main character and like her best friend is like supposedly like this big thing that drives our main character's like motivations and everything was very underdeveloped, which made it feel slightly toxic, I'm gonna be honest. And then I also feel like the way things were wrapped up was just underdeveloped and very quickly done, and I feel like I was missing some things there. But yeah, I don't know, I felt kind of mad about it just because I felt like there was just no depth to this book, if that makes sense. So I decided to take things over a very different route, and there was one book on my list that I knew was very different vibes from all of the other books, so I decided to go with that, and it's a Jingle Bell Mingle by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. Not a DNF. I promise you, I didn't want to do this, but I really couldn't do it. I couldn't click with the writing on this one. I just felt like it was a bit too quirky and like too funny, and no, it generally gave me such a massive ick, and I just didn't really like it. In this book, we follow, I feel like I got 21% of the way through, so technically I got further into it than the other 2 books I DNF'd, but I feel like for the other 2 I had a better grasp on like the story than with this one. But in this one, we follow a female main character who is a porn star, but she accidentally sold a script to like this universe, kind of like Hallmark channel basically, and now she has to stay in a small town to kind of like get inspiration. And like her story was also based on like a myth in the small town that she like randomly heard about, so she's trying to uncover more information about that. And our male main character is a ex like boy band member, I think. I don't know. I think it's heartthrob. And like a couple of years ago his wife passed away, and since then he's just been like creatively blocked, but he contractually still has to make 1 album, and like the record label has been like very on his case about that. So he has recently moved to the small town to kind of like get inspiration with that, especially because he kind of just wants to be over and done with it really quickly. So he decided to make like to promise like a Christmas album, and this town is like very Christmassy, so he expects by living in this town he'll get inspiration that way. And yeah, it's their romance basically. And yeah, after this I was just very much not into it anymore, and I already thought it would be impossible to read all of the books before this time anyway that I originally had planned, because I don't know, I had a list that was longer than last year, which I really did not think was the case. But also December just kind of like got out of hand. I don't know, this month just generally a lot happened, none of which I fully planned, but this was a very busy month, and not the way that I was expecting. So not necessarily in a bad way, but just like, you know, there was a lot going on. So I was already like struggling to get married to these books in that sense, and then also just like I felt so defeated by everything that I was reading, and I wasn't getting joy out of this video anymore. And then you might be able to hear it, but I got sick again. I went on a cold and I've been feeling like shit. And like the last thing I want to do is push myself through some books that I don't like. And especially because I don't think that's like gonna be a very fun video for you. So I'm just gonna leave this here as it is now, because I feel like this way it still mostly has been a success. Yes, there's been 3 DNFs, but there's also been like 2 or 3 4-stars. I don't remember fully, I apologize. There's been a couple of 4 stars, there's been a couple of 3 stars. There's not been anything lower if you don't count the DNFs. So I feel like that way it's still mostly positive besides this last update, and therefore I feel like I can still get like a fun video out to you in a sense. But I really am just so exhausted with it, and I don't think I will be doing this video again next year. I really don't. As much as I want to like these Christmassy type books, especially like Christmas romance and everything, they're not made for me. I'm not the person for it. I'm, maybe like one every while, the 1 or 2 in the Christmas season, like the binging of it. That's not my thing, so I'm not gonna do that. I do still have a couple that I didn't get around to that are technically all of these like galleys from that galley, so I will probably get around to those other times. But I don't know, I feel like putting this, like, not necessarily pressure, because there's definitely not pressure to be making this video, but like, I don't know what else to call it than pressure. So like, you're putting this extra pressure on like books that I already don't have the greatest track record with. I feel like it's not working in its favor, and therefore it's not a fun video for me to make, but also I think for you to watch. So I'm just gonna leave it here. And yeah, I hope you still got something out of this video. Let me know in the comments if you read any of these books, what you thought of them, and then I promise you next time I'm gonna be happier, okay? So see you then. Bye.
Here I am again, the same old situation. Why does the God thing have to be so complicated? Sure.